Hey guys, people are Strang here. So today I'm talking about Book of Mormon apologetics. So I'm just going to talk about a fallacy I've noticed people engaging in. And that's what I call the fallacy of superpositional Book of Mormon geography, where they never commit to a particular part of the New World for the Book of Mormon to have taken place. So it results in hypothetically anywhere in the Americas being an evidence for the Book of Mormon. And the end result is that you can have two evidences for the Book of Mormon's historicity that are in completely different continents, really. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about why this is a problem with our reasoning around Book of Mormon apologetics or criticisms. So, Little Barley, that's a very popular example of something in the Book of Mormon that was proven correct. So, the Book of Mormon talks about barley. There was no knowledge of barley having been cultivated in the New World before colonization. Little barley was discovered that people were cultivating little barley, but for the time period that the Book of Mormon is set in, and is in enough of a cultivation intensity to match the Book of Mormon, little barley has to be confined to about the region that's on the map there, south of the Great Lakes. So little barley can be used as evidence in favor of the Book of Mormon, but it can't be used concurrently with something like cement houses because they're in very different parts of the world. So cement houses in southeastern Mexico, Central America. The Book of Mormon talks about houses being made with cement. There were parts of the New World where people made houses out of cement, but it was very much confined to that particular part of the world. It wasn't just all over the Americas, just like little barley wasn't intensely cultivated all over the Americas. So these are both popular examples people will use of evidences for the Book of Mormon, but as I think is clear just by me showing it on the map, you can't use both of them as evidences for the Book of Mormon. And if you are, that's not two strong evidences in favor of the Book of Mormon. That's one strong evidence in either place. So if you're going to commit to a Mesoamerican model, you can't use little barley as an example because it just doesn't work within the model. And in that case, it's a strong evidence against your model. And the same for cement houses. And another example is Tumbaga. So researchers have found that with the dimensions Joseph Smith gave for the golden plates, if they were truly made out of gold, they'd be super heavy. So one argument apologists have used is that the golden plates were actually made out of Tumbaga, not gold. And Tumbaga is an alloy of, I think, gold and copper. And it looks a lot like gold, but it's much lighter. So you say, okay, the golden plates were Tumbaga, they weren't actual gold. So I'd say, okay, but the problem with that is Tumbaga was not a universal replacement for gold in the New World. It was a metal that was made in a very specific part of the world. So if you're going to use Tumbaga to explain away the problems of the weight of the plates, you can't also use little barley as an example. And you could kind of also use cement houses, but it's a stretch. It's definitely a strong stretch. And then we get to iron. The Book of Mormon talks about iron quite a bit. Apologists don't really use this as an evidence because it's super, super weak and kind of laughable, but technically there is a little bit of iron cultivation that happened in, not iron cultivation, iron usage that occurred in the Americas before colonization, but meteoric iron was used to a small degree by Inuit people, but no one thinks the Nephites were Inuits. And meteoric iron was also used to a very small degree in the Andes, as well as bog iron. But these are the super tiny, degrees of usage, and people definitely weren't making swords and weapons and tools and everything with meteoric iron and bog iron. They were just like jewelry and very rare. So if you were to use some of these evidences or data points to try to defend the historicity of the Book of Mormon and the golden plates, you end up in the superpositional geography situation where you're arguing for Tumbaga, which is in that central part of Central America, but you're also arguing for cement houses, which is more northwestern. And then you're also using little barley as an argument, but that's very much in a specific part of North America. And maybe you're even bringing in meteoric and bog iron in the Andes. But as you can see, so you might say, well, that's, two, three, or four evidences in favor of the Book of Mormon being historical, but, if you actually commit to a geographical model, then that's only one or two. And of course, the only solid, unquestionable geographic marker in the entire Book of Mormon is the Hill Cumorah, because that's where Joseph Smith said he got the plates. And of course, the farther you get from the Hill Cumorah in New York, the more implausible it is. If you're talking about the region south of the Great Lakes, you could suppose that somebody spent, a lone Moroni spent, years and years walking over there and decided to bury them there specifically. But of course, if you go down to Mesoamerica, then it just gets extremely implausible and requires something like, an angel picking him up and, dropping him over. But so that's just what I have to say about Book of Mormon superpositional geography. Let me know what you think. Feel free to push back or agree, whatever you want. Have a good one. Goodbye.